Okay, we had finished the population topic in the last class, and one topic was left actually. That was the population policies of India and their evaluation. Okay, we will do this topic whenever we'll find. Okay, but today we will start with the topic number, the next topic, that is the settlement. Again, it is a very easy topic, but number of questions are asked from the settlement in geography optional paper, and there are possibility that the questions may be asked in the GS as well. But so the first thing that we'll start with the settle. Basically, we are here more. We are discussing the Indian geography, so we will mainly restrict ourselves to the settlement, basically both urban as well as the rural type, for Indian perspective only. Okay, the theories and the global perspective we will do in another set of lectures with regard to the settlement. But first of all we will do the regional patterns of the settlements, regional distribution of settlements. Which settlements? Rural settlements. So the first topic that we will cover is the regional distribution of rural settlement. So without delay, let us start with the first only topic, that is the regional distribution of rural settlements. So as before understanding this topic, let us in brief know about the different types of the rural settlements. Number one is the compact settlements. Compact settlements. Number two is the semi-compact settlements. Number three is the dispersed settlements. See, compact settlements are well knit. There, the population density is high, and the community live close to each other in a common center. So they are well knit communities, and they live around a common center. And these type of settlements are mainly found in the fertile plains. Compact settlements, for example, in the Ganga Valley. However, the semi-compact settlements are not as well knitted, as well compact as the compact settlements are. Okay, so dwellings in these settlements are not so much concentrated. This is the second term, that is the compact settlement. The third term that we must know about it is the dispersed settlement. Dispersed settlements are found in more dispersed manner than compact and the semi-compact settlement. For example, in the hilly region, in the dry zones, in the desert region. So these are the regions where the dispersed settlements are found. Okay, people live far land away, far places away from each other. Okay, so they are the less knitted communities. They are less knitted communities. So these are the three terms that we must know before we do some of the basic concepts of the regional distribution of settlements in the rural India. So if you see in the rural India, for example, let us say we want to study the settlements in the Ganga plains. In the Ganga plains, settlements are basically compact settlement. Okay, and it is not that the everywhere in the Ganga plain the settlements are compact. For example, in the eastern Rajasthan, all the settlements are complex. But as you move more westward in the Rajasthan, the settlement begin degrading from the compact settlement to semi-compact first, and then to the dispersed settlements. This is the degradation of the settlements as you move towards the westward in the Rajasthan, for example. And if you see in the Tarai plains, for example, if you see in the Tarai plains, again settlement here are semi-dispersed, semi-compact or semi-dispersed. Now why semi-compact? Because the water level is very close to the ground in the Tarai plains, and because of this there is no need for making the compact settlements by the communities. That's why what happens, that communities live far away from each other, making these settlements semi-compact settlements. Okay, similarly, as you move downwards in the lower Ganga plains, In lower Ganga plains, if you see, the settlements varies. For example, in the not Dwars, for example, in the Sundarbans, okay, Sundarban Delta or in the Delta regions, the settlements are dispersed settlements. Okay, and another point that the in the lower Ganga plains, the morphology of the settlements basically depends upon the how the river is braiding at that point. So this is the main point in the lower Ganga plains. So this is how we must know about the different kind of settlements, know how different kind of settlements are found at which place and what are the reason for this kind of the distribution of settlements. And for example, if you see another example, let us say you see the rural settlements in the peninsular India. What is the pattern of rural settlements in peninsular India? For example, if you see, let us say you see Marwad region, you see Arauli region. These are the dry region. The settlement in these region again vary from semi-compact to dispersed settlements. Semi-compact to dispersed settlements. Okay. For example, if you see in the Chota Nagpur plateau, again here as well, the settlements are of the nature of semi-compact. But if you see the black soil region of the Maharashtra, Marathwada region, for example, let us say Marathwada, okay, or the Medan regions of the Karnataka, Medan of Karnataka. You know, Karnataka is divided into two parts, that is Malnad region and the Medan region. Medan are the plain regions, okay, away from the Western Ghats. So in these Marathwada Medan region of Karnataka, settlements are compact settlements. Similarly, when you see in the valley regions, of the valley of Godavari, whether it is Krishna, okay, again settlements are compact settlements. Okay, for example, when you move towards the coastal areas, in coastal areas mainly fishing villages are present, and the fishing villages tend to take shape of either the semicircular shapes around lake or linear shape around the coastline around the sea. So basically you have to know the different parts, how the different type parts have the different kinds of settlement and how they are distributed in different parts of India. So we saw the two examples basically. One example is of the Ganga, in the Ganga plains, how the rural settlements are found, and another is the peninsular India, that how in peninsular India different types of settlements are found. Now there are number of factors actually which influences the arrangements of the settlements. So we will study the factors actually, factors influencing the distribution of settlements. See, this we will do with the help of example. Let us say one is takes the example of Rajasthan and other is take the example of Northeast India. First of all, the first factor, that is the water availability. See, in the Rajasthan, what is there? Water is scarce. So these settlements that will be found, it will be the wet point settlements. Now in wet point settlement, what happened? The large number of people, let us say 2,500 or 3,000 people, they gather at a point around a wet point, whether it is, let us say, oasis. Wet point is oasis here. So the people gather around the oasis and make the village around. So in the Rajasthan, wet point settlements will be found. When it comes to the Northeast India, the water availability is not the problem because the rainfall is sufficient. So, but this region has huge physiographic diversity in the form of hills, plains, and etc. Diversity. And because of this physiographic diversity, the main settlement type is here the spring type settlements are found. For example, if you see in Meghalaya, large number of springs are found. So people form the semi-compact or the dispersed settlement, and these spring types are nothing but the dispersed type settlements, dispersed type. Okay, so this is the that how the water availability may influence the different type of settlement, or because of the water availability different type of settlements may evolve in the different regions. So this is the first point. Okay, moving on to the second point, that second what may be the another factor that may influence the evolution of the different types of the settlement is the availability of land, availability of land. See what happens in Rajasthan. Basically, in the western Rajasthan, if you see, there are sand dunes, and these sand dunes are migrating. And when you divide the Rajasthan in two parts, in the western Rajasthan and in the eastern Rajasthan is basically mostly rocky type, and the western Rajasthan is basically made of the desert and the sand dunes. Okay, so what is there in the rocky part? There is possibility of making the compact settlement, but in this part, western settlement, there is very less possibility of making the compact settlement. Okay, and because of this, here again the because of land availability in the eastern Rajasthan, compact settlements are formed. Compact settlements are formed wherever suitable land is found. When you come to Northeast India is mostly hilly region. We are talking about the second factor, that is the availability of land, and mostly it is the hilly region. And because of this hilly region, there is the lack of land availability when it comes to the land suitable for the settlement. So we can say that there is lack of land availability for settlement. Okay, and because of this lack of land availability, people tend to settle at the faraway places, leading to formation of semi-compact and the dispersed settlement. So because of this only, semi-compact settlements are formed here. Okay, but this is not the only case. For example, in Assam Valley, wherever there is flat land, there is possibility of formation of the compact settlement. That is the true. For example, in Guwahati or in many other places, there is a possibility of formation of compact settlement. Okay, moving, this was the factor of the availability of the land. Okay, that how the land affect the evolution of different types of settlements. The next factor that may influence the formation of the settlements is the, let us say, building material. Again, building material, for example, in case of Rajasthan, the availability of building material is the rock. So the houses in the Rajasthan are made up of what? Rocks. However, when you come into the northeastern region, the houses are made up of the bamboo trees. Okay, so bamboo is the main material for the formation of the house, the settlements. Okay, the what we have said, water, लेकिन अगर हम एज अ ब्रॉड फैक्टर की हमने वाटर अवेलेबिलिटी को देखा, but if we see in broad terms, that is in the climate terms, in climate terms, the how the climate, because in climate it is not only the water, in the climate we can study the aridness, we can study the rainfall patterns, so these all affect the evolution of settlements. For example, let us say the arid, the Rajasthan is basically arid region. Okay, in arid region there is always sparsity of population because of the water scarcity and many other natural hazards. Okay, and the out migration of population. So in the arid regions, what is the possibility of the semi compact and the dispersed settlement is all there. Possibility of semi compact settlements. Okay, however, when you come to the northeast, northeast में क्या है? There is heavy rainfall, heavy precipitation. Because of heavy precipitation and dense forest, the again settlements are semi compact and dispersed, semi compact and dispersed. Okay, let me correct one thing, this is not semi compact but compact. Why? Because of aridity, settlements try to settle, as we said in the water segment, around a wet point. So here settlement will be the compact. We just made a separate heading of the climate, otherwise the reason is the same as we discussed in the water availability section, right? Similarly, for next factor that may affect the evolution of the settlements is the hazard. For example, in the Rajasthan, what is there? What kind of hazard is present? Mainly, it may be drought. Okay, drought. Okay, so communities need to live together so that they can overcome the challenge of the water scarcity. So in these regions of the Rajasthan where there is possibility of large droughts, prolonged droughts, settlements tend to people tend to gather together and they form close knit settlement, leading to which type of settlement? Compact settlement formation. But when you come to the northeast region of India, in northeast region there is no such dryness. Actually, there is main hazard is the flood, and because of this, what happens? The people tend to live away from the river valleys. Either they live in the upper regions, or if they make the houses on the floodplains of, let us say, Brahmaputra, then they make the machan type of house. Okay, what they do, machan type of household in this, they make the house on the bamboo, so that the as the river level rises, that does not flood the house. So this is the main hazard in the northeast region, and according to that hazard, people adapt to different type of housing pattern in the northeast. However, in case of Rajasthan, we said the hazard is different type, so the houses will evolution of houses will be different. So this is the another factor that may influence the evolution of the settlements. But when you see, so another factor, let us say the defense. Actually, the Rajasthan, for example, let us say Rajasthan is in the northeast region, in the northwestern part of India, and northwestern part of India was the first to be invaded by the invaders. So what happened in the Rajasthan, people out of fear or whatever defense, people tend to live together, and what they used to do, they make the walls around that settlement. So what led to the evolution of the walled forts, and these walled forts are nothing but compact, so they will be counted in the compact type of settlements, right? But in case of the northeast region, if you see in the northeast region, the threat was very different. There was the ethnic stripes, right? And because of this, the large number of tribes are living there, large number of tribes are living there. They are staking claims over the different territory, leading to ethnic strife. So this factor led to no discouragement of the compact type of settlement. So what happened here, this semi compact settlement formed, semi compact. So number of different regions we discussed in the northeast as well as the northwest, that what different type were factors operating for in one region the compact settlements evolved, in another region semi compact or the dispersed settlement evolved. Okay, so these were the main factors that we discussed for the evolution of the settlements. Okay, whether it is the water, building material, climate, hazard, defense, etc. Okay, so these were the factors that led to the evolution of different types of settlement. Now in the rural areas, when we say in the rural areas, the houses are not as if they as are present in the urban area. So urban areas morphology that we will study later on, that is completely different from the morphology of the rural areas. अभी तक हम morphology rural areas की पढ़ रहे हैं. So in rural areas, basically when you study the, let us say, morphology of a village, in a village, in a village settlement, how the houses were segregated in India. The houses were segregated basically on the on certain caste lines, on certain rigid systems which were there in India. So basically in villages, we would divide the villages in three parts. A village morphology. Okay, first one is the homogeneous part. In homogeneous part, this includes the fields, and the second part is the special part. In the special part is any cultural institution, for example, let us say temple. And the third part is the circular part. Circular part. In circular part, there were living settlements, habitations, and this circular part was around the special part, habitation. So to explain this differentiation of village land in three parts, there were given two models. Okay, one was the religion ritual model, religion ritual model. See, what was there in the religion ritual model? So first of all, this was the khas gaon. This was the special part. Let us say how these three parts that we said, the homogeneous part, circular part, and the special part. This was the special part in between, in center. Around the special part, there was the khas gaon. Khas gaon. This is called khas gaon, where upper class people used to live. And around khas gaon was the living place or the habitation of working class, right? And there lived the outcast people on the western side, outcast people. Okay, and this is the homogeneous part. This is all is the homogeneous part, that is fields, right? So this is how the village was distributed, village, sorry, these rural settlements morphology evolved in India. And this evolution was totally on the basis of the caste system that was prevalent on India. Okay, there was special part. Around the special part there were khas gaon. Okay, upper class people were used to live upper caste. Around the upper caste, the working class people who used to work in the special part of the khas gaon, they, and here used to live outcast people on the western side. So this explanation was given by the religion ritualistic model, that how the village land is distributed. But this distribution on the basis of the religion and the rituals of the ancient India has has been overcome because of the modern factors. And on that basis, the another model was given, which was based on this, which was called as the secular dominance model. Secular dominance model, and it is based on the modern factors, whether they are the pull factors of the urban areas, okay, whether the receding of the caste factors. All these factors have led to the evolution of more complex settlements even in the rural areas, that we will study shortly, that how, that what were the reason that this kind of distinction in the rural settlement led to change to a secular dominance model. Okay, what were the factors that led to this dominance? Okay, that uh, urban kind of villages are evolving, urban kind of villages are evolving, which are free out of the caste factor and the distinctions. So let us study those factors, which were those factors that led to this change. Okay, factors which led to change in morphology of rural settlements. The first factor that we can count on is the land reforms. During the land reforms, the land was distributed to the landless laborers. Okay, and those who were earlier working for others, they had their own lands, and they now started what they started. They started living in their own land. For example, let us say this was the special part, okay, and around which the people were living. Okay, now when the land reforms happened, let us say there was a field here which was given to a person who was earlier working for these people in the special part. So this person migrated to his field and he made his settlement around his field. So because of the land forms, the pattern of the settlements completely changed. Okay, the second factor which led to the change in the morphology is the developmental activities. See, earlier special part, they were mainly the cultural institutions, whether it is the panchayat, whether it is the temple. But gradually with the developmental activities, the new special parts world, new special parts include like bus stand. Okay, the new special part include the, let us say, post office. So what happened around these special parts, or around these special parts, people started making their houses. This again led to the change in morphology of the rural settlements. The third factor is the transportation arteries. Transportation arteries. What happened as the transportation arteries in from the railway lines to the roadways that developed, people started making their houses for living very close to. For example, let us say this was the railway line. Okay, this was the railway line, that here was the railway station. Okay, and here was a village. This was the, let us say this was the village. Okay, so the people who were not well treated, outcast people, let us say, who were living here not well treated in this village, what they started, for the dignity of the earning or livelihood, they started migrating toward these parts where they can earn their, livelihood from the traditional part. So they started making their houses very close to these transportation arteries, leading to again change in the morphology. Fourth factor which you can count on is the diffusion of urban culture. The diffusion of urban culture. See, earlier what was there, the urban parts and the rural parts, they were completely disconnected from each other. But as the urban culture started diffusing toward the rural areas, the new type of houses started emerging in the rural areas. For example, the multi-story houses. Okay, houses made up of marble usage increased, etc. So these kind of things started emerging in the rural areas because of the evolution of the urban culture in the rural areas. The next factor that can be said to be responsible is the declining significance of agriculture. Declining significance of agriculture. Now, what happened? Earlier, agriculture was important activities, but as the manufacturing, the service sector emerged, and the wages in those sectors emerged as compared to the agriculture faster, then the people started migrating out of agriculture into the new economic activities, leading to formation of what is called as the ghost towns. Formation of ghost towns. So the earlier culture center, for example, let us say this was a special part, a temple. Around this, rich peoples were living who were basically owning the farmland. Okay, now farmland is not giving that much profit, so the children of these households, what they started migrating into the urban areas. Now as the children migrated, parents also went with their children, leading to formation of kind of a ghost town around the special part, where the people were not living, just empty houses with the locks were hanging there. Okay, this was the situation basically in many rural areas. Okay, so what we said, we so basically the five factors which led to the change in the morphology, that how the morphology of the rural areas changed in India, those five factors we saw. Okay, now same topic, rural settlement. That now we are coming on to a particular, what we saw that how on the Indian scale or the large scale, that how the different type of settlement are present. Different type of settlement in Rajasthan, different type of settlements present in the Ganga Valley, in peninsular India, northeast India, different type of settlement. Then we minimized our scale. We minimized our scale to a village. That how a village is arranged, how the houses are arranged in a village. Okay, now we have discussed the village and the factors that led to the change in the morphology of village. Now we are again decreasing our scope to a single house. So how a household evolved in the rural areas, or the factor influencing different type of houses. Okay, basically factors, what we are studying here, factors influencing the type of houses in rural India. Okay, so the what are the factors influencing the different type of houses? In first factor is the temperature. Obviously the first factor is the temperature. See, in India, the houses have the a big what we call as the courtyard. Big courtyard, a big courtyard in between. Courtyard भी कैसा बन गया यार? Let us say this is courtyard here, this is courtyard. Okay, and in the rural houses, around this courtyard are made the rooms here, like that. So this is something morphology of the houses. But why the courtyard is made in between? Because India is a humid and warm country. Okay, and for this humid and warm nature, some open space is required, so that the windows of these rooms can be open in that courtyard, and the air, these rooms can be ventilated. This was the main reason, because of the temperature. the courtyards used to be made in the between the houses in India. The second factors that influences the type of rural settlement is the precipitation, rainfall. Now how the precipitation influences that which kind of house emerges in which region. For example, if you see pattern of the rainfall in India, let us say this is 200 centimeter, this is 100 centimeter, right? This is 50 centimeter and this is 25 centimeter. Areas where the rainfall is more than 200 centimeter, the houses are generally made up of the conical roofs. Okay, in between 100 and 200 centimeter, the houses are made up of the sloping roofs. 50 to 100 centimeter flat roofs, and here 25 to 50 centimeter again sloping roof. So you see how the rainfall is affecting the type of the type of roof found in the different type of the houses, sorry, different type of region as per the rainfall. Similarly, the building material again influences the houses. Building material, see, as I said, for example, when you see in the Rajasthan, main building material is rock, so houses are made up of generally rocks. But if you see in the northeast region, main houses are made up of the bamboo trees, bamboo. Okay, so how the building material affect the different affect the houses. The next is the hazard. Okay, for example, in Rajasthan, when you see in the Rajasthan, there is the threat of what? Threat of droughts. So houses generally make the provision of the water storage in their houses, so you may find the well, okay, and a tank in the house. However, when you see in case of Assam, there is a different kind of hazard, that is a flood is a main hazard. So the houses are made on the bamboo trees like this. Okay, so these type of houses are called the machan type of houses. Okay, so this is the another factor that affect that how the different type house may evolve in the areas. The next factor is the cultural factor. India is mainly patriarchal society. Not all parts, but mostly patriarchal. So in patriarchal society, there is a division of the labor in India. So because of this division of labor, what happens? There are the two type of, generally most houses have two types of, or the two courtyard. One is the inner courtyard, another is the outer courtyard. In the inner courtyard, mainly the ladies of the houses used to live. In the outer courtyard, mainly the older people of the house used to live. So this is how the patriarchal institution or the cultural factor have led to evolution of the different morphology for a house. Similarly, next factor which may influence, now these factors, for example, let us say technology also influence the evolution of house, and this is a more recent factor actually. So technology was not factor earlier. For example, earlier what was the main reason of courtyard in between the house, so that the houses, the rooms which are made around the courtyard, they can be properly ventilated. But what is there is different technology for ventilation today, whether it is the cooler, AC, okay, exhaust. So these technologies have changed the pattern of households, how the houses are built in the rural areas. The next factor is the urban influence. So urban influence also is more recent on the rural morphology, whether it is the as I said, multi-story houses, or the presence or the use of the marbles and other modern infrastructure in the rural areas. So this has also in fact affected the the morphology of the houses in the rural areas. So this is what we studied, that what are the factors basically influencing the type of the houses in the rural India. Okay, so this was basically the last of the rural settlements. So what we have completed, the rural settlements, that how the rural settlements are present in India, how they are evolved, what are the different type of rural settlement factors affecting the settlements. So basically we have finished the rural settlements. Okay, now in the next class what we will do, we will start with the urban settlements. Okay, urban settlements. So this is the last of this class. Please subscribe the channel before closing the video. So thank you. We will meet in the next class.